The Georgetown University School of Foreign Services in Qatar was designed by the Mexican architect Ricardo Legorreta. Legorreta was a protégé of Louis Barragan, so his approach and style can definitely be seen as a continuation of that legacy. In one of his most famous projects, Pershing Square in Los Angeles, we can see the use of bright colors and Platonic volumes in a very modernist spirit. But Legorreta, like Barragan, goes beyond the worry of creating an international style of architecture so as to celebrate the context of every one of his projects and invite it within. His treatment of the wall surfaces is not purist, but not decorative either, as the colors actually make the landscape more vivid. The courtyard and fountain are not only historically sensitive and extending the outside environment inwards, but also demonstrate climate responsiveness. So, in this sense, the architect can be classified as a critical regionalist. Accordingly, Legorreta's final project, in Qatar, is driven by the fundamental question of modern regionalism, namely, how to accommodate for contemporary standards and needs in a building that is sensitive to both the context and the user. Legorreta's answer formulates itself as a village-like congregationalist spaces, giving importance to outdoor courtyards and atria as the primary communal spaces. The architect seems to have based his study in the vernacular architecture of the region, which today is largely erased and forgotten about in the strive to create ever newer and grander forms. From a spatial organization standpoint, the project is composed as a complex and balanced congregate of Platonic volumes, aligned along two grids relating to the two main entrance axes. The buffer zone between the two grids formulates an important junction where most of the circulation is allocated. This system reminds us of the clustered organization of traditional Arab villages. Especially in the Gulf, where there are not that much imposing hills which would dictate shifts in direction, the tendency was to develop the urban landscape horizontally, in a Cartesian manner, with voids creating introverted courtyards. Legorreta's project tries to capture the essential character of the traditional Arab courtyards in his project. They are fully enclosed, featuring traditional water elements used spatially to highlight axiality, phenomenologically as a tactile element relating to earth and nature, and climatically as an evaporative cooling device. We see quite a traditional interpretation of Arabian gardens with quadripartite organization which historically alluded to the balance and harmony of heaven. It's here reused to bring a sense of serenity and order to the space. In Qatar, historically, the traditional building material was local limestone. An external layer of render made the building seem continuous with a sandy ground. In Legorreta's project, we could say that the facade treatment both asserts the contemporary identity of the building and creates important parallelisms with the history of the region. Indeed, the stone cladding does not claim to be a fake historicizing feature, as it is used in a contemporary way without trying to hide the fact that it is merely cladding and not structural. This is most obviously revealed by paying attention to the absence of lintels above openings. The architect thus embraces the cladding as cladding and emphasizes the unity of the facade surface, whose main decorative element lies in the textural interest of the stone itself. Also interesting to note is the fact that the facade does not limit itself to the outside perimeter, but instead wraps inwards and constitutes a sort of datum in the project, in both inside and outside spaces, thus blurring the boundary between the two, which is a unique feat to pull off using passive strategies in a climate as hot as that of Qatar. The facade also features a contemporary revival of musharrabiyya elements flanking the primary entrance axis, which is in line with the original use of this traditional Middle Eastern architectural feature as a protruding volume with a privacy screen for observing street activity. The curtain wall entrance invites the visitor in, while glimpsing at the play of mass and void which characterizes the spatial experience of the project. The atrium is the main common space, encouraging discussion and exchange. Deep skylights bring light in while keeping the inside cool. Pendant light elements reduce the overwhelming effect of the high ceilings. The library is given a particular treatment as a receptacle of knowledge and culture, and a reflection of the university's expansive archive. The library is crowned by a sort of pyramid, which on the inside somewhat acts like a dome, bringing indirect light into the main body of the space. This is perhaps an attempt to bring in features of traditional religious architecture as an allusion to the contemporary faith in human knowledge and innovation. This puts Legorreta's project in line with Kenneth Frampton's observations on critical regionalism, whereby he called on architects to secularize the sacred form by precluding the usual set of semantic religious references and thereby the corresponding range of automatic responses that usually accompany them. So in this sense, Legorreta brings back some of the character and atmosphere of Islamic architecture with a more humanistic interpretation, illustrating the shifting ideologies of Qatar as it opens itself up to globalization and strives to become a beacon of innovation. To conclude, the Georgetown University in Qatar is modern regionalist as it seeks to mediate between the global and local languages of architecture. It constitutes an important contribution to the architecture of Qatar, as a foreign architect came and managed to celebrate exterior space with a smart and modest reinterpretation of vernacular architecture, in stark opposition to the contemporary tendency to reject the past and the movement to create ever taller, air-conditioned glass boxes with ever fancier mechanical shading devices.